Miss Carolyn Creech.
Our reading this morning is by Pema Chodron, who is a Buddhist nun. This is good. Oh, you can't hear me? Now you can, right? Is that good? Yeah. It's called The Dream of Constant Awareness. It's not impermanence per se, or even knowing we're going to die, that is the cause of our suffering, the Buddha taught. Rather, it's our resistance to the fundamental uncertainty of our situation. Our discomfort arises from all of our efforts to put ground under our feet, to realize our dream of constant okayness. When we resist change, it's called suffering. But when we can completely let go and not struggle against it, when we can embrace the groundlessness of our situation and relax into its dynamic quality, that's called enlightenment, or awakening to our true nature, to our fundamental goodness. Another word for that is freedom. Freedom from struggling against the fundamental ambiguity of being human. Pema Chodron. Mindfulness is not something we can do this morning and relinquish this afternoon. Although at first we may do that as we slowly get used to this way of living our lives, as some call it our practice. Hopefully our goal is to live a more vital and happy life, to feel at peace, even as we know life's issues are swirling around us, and to look forward to every day's challenges and joys. This is what we all say we want when people ask us. We want peace and equanimity. Mindfulness is a particular kind of awareness, a deliberate way of paying attention to what is within ourselves and around us. It's a whole body and mind awareness of the present moment, right now. To be mindful is to be fully present, not lost in daydreams, anticipations, indulgence, or worry. Mindfulness means dropping the mental habit of judging everything according to whether we like it or not. Being fully mindful means being fully attentive to everything that is. Not everything as we'd like it, but everything as it is. Not filtering everything through our subjective opinions. The Zen monk Thich Nhat Hanh, whom most of you know, reminds us that practicing mindfulness cultivates understanding, love, compassion, and joy. It helps us to take care of and transform suffering in our lives. We can't change what's happening in the world or to ourselves on a moment-by-moment basis, but we can change the operation of our minds, how we react to life's events, how we respond. Inside our heads, there's a seemingly incessant soliloquy, ruminating about or contemplating the past or the future, even 5 minutes ago or this afternoon. Often we're so caught up in this that we're not present to what's happening right now. We completely miss it. You've all experienced talking to someone and realizing that he or she is not taking in what you're saying or what you're even trying to convey. Even when realizing that he or she is doing this very subtly, you can sense it. They don't have to be looking at their cell phone or at some other distraction, but you know there's no connecting. You do this too. We all do. Remembering something you forgot to do. Planning what you're making for dinner. Feeling bad because you hurt someone's feelings earlier in the day. Or doing some activity while appearing to listen. I used to do this a lot. When you're with another person, look into their eyes. Try to hear and feel their feelings about what they're trying to tell you. Try to really, really hear. Always. When you're driving or walking, or just looking, try to really take in what you see. Sense your emotions when looking at a painting. Try to imagine the artist's message. Get deeply into it. Work toward giving up the modern addiction to multitasking. We used to think that was really cool and a very valuable skill. It isn't. Mindfulness gives us a mental spaciousness, resources to act on states of mind like anger, greed, sadness, helping us to accept the impermanence of everything, including our bodies and ourselves. It helps us to give close attention to our experiences as they unfold. Being mindful, awake, aware, helps us to see our connection to others. In fact, to all living beings in the world around us. Seeing and feeling this connection makes it possible for us to have empathy or compassion. They are us. We are them. These feelings are essential components to happiness. Although the concept of mindfulness comes out of the Buddhist tradition, it is not necessary to be a Buddhist to practice it. One can be religious or non-religious. But there are some conditions that contribute to success at achieving mindfulness. They are moral precepts or practices governing personal conduct. The Buddha presented these as aspirations, where we take note of our shortcomings and vow to do better, starting anew each time we fall short. These precepts help us in our practice of mindfulness and help others and help the world. There are 5. They are generally written in the form of vows or intentions. The first, I will endeavor not to harm other sentient or living beings. We often hurt others by being thoughtless. This is a promise to be more aware of how our actions affect others. Mindfulness creates a peaceful mind and helps to minimize the damage we cause. It promotes a reverence for life and all living things. And 2, I will endeavor not to steal. And we're not talking here about robbing houses. Stealing is prompted by greed and envy. Often we act in ways to give us power, using insidious forms of theft, like taking credit for another's ideas, or not speaking up if a clerk overpays us. That gives us a feeling about ourselves that hinders being mindful. Every act we do leaves a mark on our character. And number 3, I will endeavor not to misuse sexuality. Sexual activity motivated by craving does not dissipate the feelings of loneliness. In sexual relations, it's important to be aware of future suffering which can result. To promote the happiness of ourselves and others, we must respect the rights and commitments of others and ourselves. And 4, I will refrain from using false speech, lying, gossiping, slander, meaningless chatter. All challenge us to be aware of the power of our words to harm others. And 5, I will not consume toxins. Now I know this seems pretty strict, and it probably could be altered to say in moderation. But we would really have to hold ourselves to very, very mild use. And 5 says, I will foster a clarity of mind in order to practice mindfulness. You really can't be mindful if your mind is clouded. There's no way you can become mindful if your senses are clouded or altered by alcohol, pot, or excessive stimulants. And I will try to stay as healthy as possible. Much of what we take in, alcohol, drugs, media stimulation, both visual and auditory, dull our minds. It's easy to become addicted. It is helpful to privately conduct a moral inventory in the spirit of these 5 precepts. Does my behavior in some way impede my experience of life? It may help to recite them to yourself daily and let them sink in. The companion and assistant to mindfulness is meditation. They are not synonymous. Mindfulness is the power of our minds to give close attention to our experiences as they unfold. Mindful meditation is a certain exercise that helps us to be more mindful. It's a specific way to train our awareness. Buddhism refers to meditation as cultivation. That's an agrarian term, cultivating the soil. It allows us to shape our minds in ways to produce happiness. There is a distinction between the meanings of cultivation and ruminating. Cultivation is a practice, while ruminating is being lost in the thoughts running around in your head. Meditation is not exotic, and it's not particularly religious. It's not for supporting the ego to make you look good or cool. It's ordinary. Not about having some kind of experience. It's about how we relate to all of our experience. Mindfulness is the intentional, accepting, and non-judgmental focus of one's attention on the emotions, thoughts, and sensations occurring in this very moment. It is a mode of being which can be trained by meditational practices which were derived from Buddhist teachings. Mindfulness is the best way, and I think the only way, to find happiness and peace. It's worth devoting the rest of your life to.